Prevented my boyfriend from co-parenting a dog with his ex. Now I'm riddled with guilt. When my boyfriend, 36M, and I, 28F, first started talking in August 2020, he told me something unusual. He was co-parenting his Morky dog with his ex-girlfriend. I thought it was odd, but didn't say it was a deal-breaker, partly because I wasn't sure if it would be. Things between us escalated quickly. We fell for each other hard within a few months. Being pretty well known in his town, word about our relationship spread fast, and soon his ex found out. They had broken up 2 years prior, and he had moved back in with his parents, but it seemed like the separation still wasn't fully clean. Their dog-sharing arrangement was haphazard at best. There were no set times for pickups or drop-offs. Instead, they'd text each other randomly, often every other day, about who could have the dog. It started feeling intrusive, so I suggested a structured week-on, week-off schedule, thinking it would reduce unnecessary contact and make it easier on everyone. But by then, I was already getting uncomfortable with their interactions, especially since I'd caught him doing a few shady things, like muting only her notifications. He'd assured me they only talked about the dog, yet I found messages that went beyond that, like her asking to visit him when she walked the dog recently. There was nothing overtly inappropriate, but it was the secrecy that bothered me. It felt like a red flag. I decided to take matters into my own hands and reached out to her directly, hoping to clear the air. Surprisingly, our conversation went well. She even agreed that communication could go through me since her main concern was, as she put it, just about the dog's well-being. For a few months, I handled all arrangements between them. It was strange, but surprisingly effective. However, even during that period, she kept reaching out to him, claiming she'd found random belongings of his that he needed to come get. Items like an old shirt or a hat that any average person would probably just toss or donate. It started to feel like a pattern, like she was trying to keep him in her orbit. One particular incident sticks out in my memory. I'd gone with him to pick up the dog one day, and he had texted her about half an hour before we arrived, letting her know we were on our way. But when she opened the door, she was in a robe, adjusting it to cover herself properly. She seemed caught off guard, and later she texted him, "Next time, let me know you're coming so I can make sure to have clothes on." He had notified her, so the whole thing felt off to me. It made me question what kind of messages she was really trying to send. After one too many instances of her finding things he supposedly needed to retrieve, I messaged her, asking if she could gather everything at once to avoid this constant back and forth. That conversation didn't go well. She called me insecure, exhausting, and even said she felt sorry for my boyfriend for putting up with me. It stung, but we managed to compromise on using a group chat so I could see what was being discussed. This was actually my boyfriend's idea. I thought it would help, but eventually, she seemed annoyed by it too. One day, she told him she'd decided to attend a school 2 hours away and would be taking the dog with her. For my boyfriend, this was a big deal. The dog came from his family's line of pets, and he was far more attached to it than she seemed to be. He asked if she'd consider letting the dog stay with him instead. Surprisingly, she agreed without much hesitation, saying people split with animals all the time, and suddenly decided she didn't want to co-parent anymore. Just like that, she was ready to let him keep the dog. It felt odd, as though this arrangement that had seemed so important before was suddenly not worth the effort. Now he has the dog full-time, and while I sometimes feel justified in how things unfolded, I often feel a lingering guilt. Did I meddle too much in a situation that wasn't mine to control? Was I overstepping by suggesting all the boundaries, or did I just bring clarity to a messy situation? We blocked each other after everything went down, but I keep thinking about reaching out to apologize, not to rekindle anything, but to acknowledge that maybe I could have handled things differently. The weight of it just doesn't seem to go away.